Charting Toward Intimacy covers mature topics. Listener discretion is advised. Does it feel like NFP is ruining your sex life? You are not alone. And we've been there too. But what if the real problem isn't what you think? In this episode, we are going to dive into the real reason why so many Catholic couples feel disconnected, frustrated, and stuck in marriage when it comes to NFP. And we're going to talk about how to shift it. Welcome to Charting Toward Intimacy, the podcast for Catholic women that helps you improve your sex life, strengthen your marriage, and embrace God's design for love. My name is Ellen Holloway, and joining me today is my semi-regular co-host, Kathleen Chovanes. NFP is not the problem.
She was like, really?
I think we're done.
Just dying. Episode over.
Done. 9 seconds in.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Let's be honest. This is a pretty personal topic because there were many years in my marriage where it was assumed NFP is the problem. Like, it is the problem. Why don't we just throw it out the window, become providentialists? Like, it'll be so much better for our intimacy and just for everything. And that is not true.
It's not at all true.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? As a part of my story, NFP hasn't ever, like, we've never pinpointed NFP as the problem. Like, we haven't, that's just never been a statement that we gave. However, like, we discovered NFP during the process of, like, healing our sex life and, like, our issues with sex. Like, and so, like, NFP for us became part of the solution.
Yeah, see,
which is cool.
It is really cool. And here's the thing. People who practice NFP, this has been a theme that I have noticed has been on repeat ever since I started really diving into like falling in love with NFP and just like diving into it, just, you know, in all the ways, personally, professionally, everything. There are two camps of NFP practitioners. People who discovered it after marriage, who it's been the bee's knees, right? It's been like the absolute best thing because it has been a part of the solution.
Yeah.
And those who knew about it and practiced it from the start of marriage, who it's felt like more of a problem because it wasn't what they expected. It's been a part of the solution or it's been a part of the problem. And I find that those who have, it's been the solution, they've started it after they got married. And they, like, just like you said, like, you discovered it and it was just like, oh, wow, this is a whole new way of looking at things. And it, like, makes sense and it works. And then there's those who are like, where it's part of the problem. It's like, oh, yeah, this is what we're going to do. And it's going to be great. And they weren't properly formed or prepared in it. Right? Like, from a realistic, like, an in the trenches sort of point of view, right? Like, in reality, how it gets practiced. And then you enter in and you're just like, wait a minute, this is not what I thought it was going to be. This is not what they told me it would be. It's like building resentment and it's like become a part of the problem. But I find that the majority of people practicing NFP are in one of those camps. And it's funny because you and I represent each camp. Right. So, yeah, we do. So this could be a really great, well-rounded discussion.
I'm going to argue something that, like, potentially the reason why the people who discovered NFP after marriage recognize it as part of the solution and don't really see it as this problem is because we have been in the utter depths of contraception. And we recognize that is a big problem. Like, and somebody who, I'm not saying you should, please don't use contraception just to get the experience. But, like, you know, if you haven't experienced something, then you, in some ways you can't understand it. Right. And so it's, you know, I don't know. I just see NFP as mountains better.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's a saying. Like, it's just so much better.
No, that makes total sense.
But let's talk about why is it that NFP isn't actually the problem? Like, many, many Catholic couples see it as the problem.
Yeah.
But it is not. And here's the thing, is sex is designed to be, in the natural order, the fruit of a deeply intimate relationship. It is the natural, like if we talk about natural marriage, not sacramental marriage, natural marriage. This is what Adam and Eve had. They had a natural marriage. Sex was the natural progression of their deep, naked intimacy, right? They were naked in the garden. That's a physical reality, but it was also a spiritual reality. They did not have sin. So they were like deeply intimate from the beginning. They saw each other fully embraced and recognized each other. And because of that deep intimacy and that fully recognizing each other and that deep love, sex was the natural fruit of that. It was not something that needed to happen. It was not something that either one demanded of the other. It was something that naturally occurred. And no, we're not going to get into the theology about how Adam and Eve did in fact have sex before the fall. We can get into that in a different episode. Just follow me on the natural thing, okay?
Wow, yeah, that would be an episode.
That would be
but
that's
an episode.
Not the discussion for today. Let's just
Yeah.
set that aside for now. What happens, because we are fallen, what happens is that sex, so actually, let's step back one step. Sex has a natural bonding effect. This effect is what some chastity speakers lean on when they're like, don't have sex with someone you're not married to because you'll always be connected. You're always going to be connected to the first person you have sex with. And some people just like laugh that off as folly. It is absolutely not. There are chemicals that are released. Oxytocin is a bonding hormone that like when you have sex with someone, you don't even have to orgasm. When you have sex with someone, you become like spiritually entwined with them. This is a spiritual reality of sex. This is why sex is the marital act, because there is this deep bonding that happens that actually isn't appropriate in relationships until you have the covenant of marriage.
Yeah.
And so like sex is, I should just become a chastity speaker. I mean,
1,000%.
I have so many great things to say on this topic.
Yeah.
Stop what I'm doing here. No. Honestly, I get a little scared when people invite me to talk to high schoolers because I'm like,
oh my gosh.
How far is too far in this conversation? Like, what can we talk about?
Love talking to high schoolers. I love it.
I'm just always worried I'm going to like talk too much because I talk so.
I know.
Like frankly about sex and intimacy.
Yes, and you're used to like having a married like woman as your audience, so it's kind of like, oh my gosh, these kids aren't there yet. Like, can I go that far? I know that feeling. I know exactly what you're talking about. But they appreciate when you go that far because no one else is doing it, you know? So it's like, and that's when you really get their attention. But anyway, I have this priest friend. His name is Father Matthew. He's actually years ago, he came on the podcast, but he and I were both speaking at a like diocesan youth event, and I like walk in the room and he's like, who invited you? You're not allowed to talk to high schoolers, because he knows the work that I do. And he's like, this is not appropriate. That's hysterical. That's really funny. That's why like in our diocese, I've become just kind of like the NFP / like cycle lady, and then Lily Fallon. She's like the chastity speaker, right? She's like chastity speaker because she's all style and dress and all these things. So we make a good tag team.
Oh my god! I can just focus on back cycle. To the topic.
Anyway,
sex has this bonding, has all this bonding. Because of that bonding, sex can very easily, if we're not cognizant and we're not careful, sex can very easily become the glue that is holding our marriage together, because it it has this natural bonding effect, which is very, very good. The problem with sex being the glue that's holding a relationship together instead of deep emotional and spiritual intimacy is that when you are required to abstain for whatever reason, whether it's you're avoiding pregnancy, a medical reason, whatever reason, when you're required to abstain, then your marriage suffers. Like,
Yeah.
actually, suffering is, I don't want to use the word suffer. Like, your marriage falls apart and it feels like you can't get through it.
Yeah.
And that is the problem.
Yeah. No, you're right on it, because I will say that this is the exact reason that NFP has been the hard part of our marriage, right? Because I think our experience, and I pretty much talk about this in like that very first episode that I ever came on in like 2001, or I'm sorry, 2021, not 2001. That would have been a long time ago. 2021.
I've not been doing the podcast for that long. I was in
not at
first
all.
grade in 2001, so.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no,
Was
definitely
not
not talking about this then. 2021 is just how like NFP resulted in unmet expectations in marriage for us, right? And it was kind of this idea that like, oh, okay, like you get married and like all that chastity stuff just kind of goes out the window. Like now you have, like you are allowed to have sex. And so, you know, not understanding that chastity takes on a different form, right? In marriage, that it's not that it we just don't have to have it anymore. It's just that it comes in a different, it's required in a different way.
All Christians are called to chastity.
Yes.
I wish I knew the catechism reference there, but
Yeah,
it's.
I have it
I
next
can
to
look
me,
it
but it'll
up
take too
while
long.
you talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's literally like, it's not that chastity is something that we need before marriage and then it goes away after marriage. Chastity is a virtue that all Christians are called to practice. Chastity, right, takes on a different role. It's that, you know, a married couple is acting chastely while having sex.
Yeah.
That's a chaste action of a married couple.
Right. Well, and I think
that's
that,
not
you
talked
know,
about in chastity talks.
no, not at all. And I think that what it came down to for us was that, like, we both thought for a while that the problem was the amount of sex that we were having, right? Like, it was just not enough. Like, we weren't having enough, but we couldn't have enough because of practicing NFP. And, you know, we kind of had these two babies pretty close together. And so, and then it became like, okay, no, we've got to like avoid because I can't take it anymore. Like, I need a break, right? And so both of us mistakenly identified the problem as not enough sex, when really it wasn't. It took us, I mean, when I say years, I mean literal years, like between 8 to 10 years of marriage, to discover that the problem was not actually how much or how little sex we were having. It was that outside of sex, we weren't feeling connected. It was that, when sex is the only way you're prioritizing connection, then like, of course you're going to end up feeling unloved for a lot of the time, right? Especially when it's like you're going through periods of time each cycle where you just can't have it, right? So my husband used to always just kind of rail against NFP and how much he hated it and how it was the worst. And it took years to recognize that NFP was not actually the problem. It was highlighting the problem of not having enough intimacy outside of sex. And I will say, like, having it take so long to recognize that, we are still 13 years into marriage working on that. Like, we are still not great at prioritizing intimacy outside of sex. Right. And it's still like we're still having to think through it and get creative and remind ourselves to like prioritize that intimacy, that non-sexual intimacy. Right. And it's always like thinking new, like, OK, how can I do this today? How can I prioritize non-sexual intimacy? Right. But I remember like in one discussion that we had where my husband was like, I just want to feel like it's us against the world. And I just don't feel like that. right? And I loved that vision that he like had, that like that's what
such
he wanted.
a great vision.
Right? Yeah, that it's like, yeah, because when the only time you're feeling close is when you're having sex, of course you're not going to feel like it's the two of you against the world,
it's
right?
us against the world. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Such a good, I love that feeling, because I think that's something that's never been like stated in my marriage, but that's very much something that we like strive for.
Yeah.
And there have been different points where like I or my husband has like recognized that like we're not that, and it's like, whoa, we've got some friction between us, and that's not cool. Like, we need to be a united front, right? Yeah. Like, and they talk about that in parenting a lot, that like it's actually more important for the child to see parents having a united front than to have like the perfect like response to something they did as a kid. Like,
yeah,
it's so like an example, right? Like a kid messes up and let's say mom yells and is like, you know, go to your room. It's better for dad to say, yep, go to your room. That's what you need to do. Instead of saying, whoa, calm down, mom. It's not that big of a deal. Let's talk about this. Like, that's actually more harmful for the child than like the yelling that happened.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Right.
But it makes a lot of sense. Like, that united front of parents, like, just there's so much security in knowing that your parents are a unit, right? And that's what natural marriage is. That's that deep intimacy that Adam and Eve had. They were a unit. Mm-hmm. And oh man, okay, let's get into this, because I just fell.
Wow, you're really excited.
I got really excited.
Really excited.
Slipped off my armrest there. Okay, so Adam and Eve were a unit. They were together. So we don't see this in the English translation of the Bible, but like at the moment when the serpent is talking to Eve, Adam is physically present there. He just doesn't speak, but he's there because the pronouns that they're using are like
plural.
What am I trying to say? Plural. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the pronouns that the serpent is using are plural. And so Adam and Eve are present there. It's just that Adam doesn't have any speaking lines in this scene. Which is like, I mean, theologians will go into like the sin of Adam's silence, right? And stuff like that. But like, what happens at the fall when God is like, what have you done? Adam's like, well, she gave it to me. Yeah. And then she's like, I don't, you know, they're not a united front, right? Mm-hmm. God is saying, what have you, plural, what have you done? What has you, the unit, what happened? Mm-hmm. And they immediately separate, right? So that separation that we feel, that need to like blame the other or like just like not be that like us against the world thing, that is an effect of sin. And so we need to fight against that in our marriages. This episode's becoming about so much more than just
I know that what we intended, NFP. But that's the Holy Spirit.
I love that. I love that when it happens. So, all right. So let's talk about then. So we've recognized NFP isn't the problem. Mm-hmm. The problem is intimacy. Is that I love what you said, Kathleen, like, if sex is the only way that we are like sharing in that intimacy, it makes perfect sense then. Like, it follows then that we are not feeling love and connection and unity outside of sex. And if we're not feeling love and connection and unity outside of sex, if sex comes off the table, then we're just like living as brother and sister. Like, you're not a married couple, you're just roommates. Mm-hmm. And that sucks. I mean, that sounds terrible. I don't want to be roommates with my husband. Ew.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely don't want to share a bed with a roommate, because I can have a lot better sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So how then do we foster that emotional intimacy that is needed in a marriage, like required in a marriage. Sex is not required. Intimacy is. I think that's something that like Edward Shree or Christopher West said. I don't know
what I have honestly found helpful personally are certain books. So I have found that I struggle with being creative or like even thinking in general. Well, how can I love him in the way that he feels loved, right? And how can I prioritize that today? So first of all, obviously we mention it all the time, but know your spouse's love language. That's number one, right? Number two, there have been multiple books that I've really kind of leaned into. The first is Wife in Pursuit. And they have it's Christian. It's not Catholic. It's by, I think her name is Selena Frederick. And her husband. It's on our book list. It is on our book list, yes. And her husband wrote one called Husband in Pursuit. And they line up together. So it can be that you guys choose as a couple to do them together. It's like a 30-day challenge to growing intimacy and loving your spouse better. The second book that I just recently got is 100 Ways to Love Your Husband, I think it's called. Sorry, I have a 3-year-old in my ear right now. But if you are someone who's just, hold on one second. If you are someone who is just kind of like, I don't know what to do or how to prioritize loving him, look to some of those resources to help you come up with ideas. Because even if you follow them for a period of time, like I said, like the 30 days of Wife in Pursuit, right? You will have these 30 days of different ways of pursuing your husband that you will have seen his reaction to each one, right? Which ones really like made a difference and made him really feel loved? Which ones was he just like thrilled about? And which ones were just kind of like, okay. And that can just give you ideas and insight into your spouse as an individual. Like, what are those things that you can start kind of thinking of them more on your own?
Yeah. I think something that is really important to recognize is that when you and your husband, before marriage, you dated, you set aside specific time just for your marriage or for your relationship. And that is something that is extremely easy to then not do once you are married and living together, whether or not you have kids. Like, I mean, it's a whole nother level once you have kids, because then you're like busy with the kids. But it's extremely easy to just like not set aside specific time for your relationship. And this doesn't mean you have to go on a date. I feel very emotionally intimate with my husband, and we have literally not been on a date in months. Like, I think my in-laws sent us on a date for our anniversary. Like, and that was in June. Our anniversary is in July, but we went on the date in June. Like, it's been months, but we find those times, we find those pockets to connect. I've talked about before that we're actually out of a season of this, but for a long time, we were in a season of every morning that we could, we had tea together and we just sat and talked for like a half an hour. There's other things that have to happen in the morning right now, and so we're not doing that. But most evenings, we sit down at the kitchen table like after we get the kitchen cleaned up, and we'll have tea again.
Yeah.
We're a tea household. We like tea. I think I'm a tea person. I think Kurt just like goes along with it. But like quite a few evenings a week, we just sit down and we just like, it's not even like, we don't even have to be like, oh, this is our date time, and so like, let's talk about date things. Like, a lot of the time we are just kind of talking about, okay, what things do need to be done. But a lot of times those conversations, like right now, my husband and I are buying a house. We are closing next week at the time of this recording. Like, when this podcast goes out, we're going to have been in our new house. And this is like very, very exciting for us. This is the first house that we've bought. It's been quite a journey to try to buy a house. Yeah. And so like a lot of our conversations right now are about like, okay, what are we going to move first? What are we going to pack first? How are we going to, what are we going to game plan on this? But then it's like, then those conversations, like almost immediately, like after we kind of like check a few things off the list, they like turn into these dreaming conversations. And we just start dreaming about whatever we were talking about. So like for right now, we just keep dreaming about like the house that we're in and what we're going to change eventually and what we're going to save up for. And are we going to stay in this house or are we going to buy another house? You know, like we just dream. Like, and like that dreaming is so good for a married couple to do together. It's so intimate because you share like a different part of yourself when you share dreams. And then like those dreams can become goals that you guys are working toward together. And that just becomes even more of a united front, like you guys against the world. I mean, like dreaming in ways that are maybe a stretch, but generally reasonable, because those dreams can become goals. And then that's where the like working toward goals together really can unify a couple.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that whole idea. And honestly, like, I think these are some things, like, as you're speaking, I'm like thinking back to like my own marriage and just how we do these things. And it's like such a simple thing that I think we just don't think of all the time, right? It's just like amidst the chaos of the day to day and the bedtime routines. And then you finally get to bed and one person's reading and then you're sacking out, right? It's like you just forget to sit down and have these simple conversations. Like, I love what you're saying. Like, yeah, just dream together. Because I know the times that we have.
I just realized I'm like remembering that we do this once a year, usually after Christmas. So like toward the beginning of the year, we're usually like with our parents. And so it's pretty easy to be like, hey, we're going to leave for an hour.
Yeah.
You guys watch the kids. And my husband and I go and we bring a notebook with us and we just like review the past year and then dream and plan for the following year. And I just like, we've done that for 2 years now. I got that idea from Jen Fulweiler in her books. Like she and her husband like regularly do this, like maybe once a month kind of a thing. Or like, I mean, not like scheduled, but they regularly go to dinner and like bring a notebook with them.
Oh, I love that.
They're like, this is a planning session.
That's a great idea.
This is a working dinner. But I thought that idea was super cool. And so like 2 years ago, I was like, oh, let's do that for the year. And then like last year, it just like worked out again. And like, I think that is a really fun thing to do as well. Just to be like, hey, like, how's our year been as a married couple, as a family? What have we done? What did we wish that we had done? And do we want to make that a priority for next year? And what are our priorities for next year? And again, that just like puts you guys on a united front. You're working toward things together.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's a great place to end.
There we go. You guys against the world. You and your husband against the world.
Thanks so much for listening. If you have ever gotten any value from this podcast, could you do me a favor really quick? Go into the podcast app that you are listening in. And if it gives you an option to rate and review, please rate and review this podcast. It helps us so much in reaching new listeners and spreading the word about this podcast. Thanks so much for listening.